Good afternoon, and welcome to 01460 On the Go, the podcast for Littletonians by Littletonians. Today is Thursday, October 9th, and with us today to talk about Town Meeting 101 is Tim Goddard, our town moderator, and as always, Jim Duggan is with us as well.
Hello, Littleton.
Yep.
Tim, so you're our town moderator.
I am.
Let's start out by what is a town moderator and what does that entail?
Okay, well, I think I've been elected moderator for about 18 or 19 years now.
Okay.
Which I did immediately after I left Littleton as town administrator and went to Framingham. I ran for the elected position of town moderator, which exists for the sole purpose of running the town meeting. It's an office that has really no authority outside of the four walls of town meeting. But the moderator weighs in on questions of procedure, makes sure that the meeting operates properly, that both sides of questions get out to the voters, that the proceedings are done fairly. And I like to think that I've been fairly even-handed in that regard. And I always say that if a moderator were not fair, were not even-handed, they wouldn't be moderator for very long. If they played favorites, the town meeting's pretty astute. They're gonna see through that. So
Yeah,
you've got to be open-minded, even-handed, and the goal, I think, is to get through the warrant that the board has established and get through it in an efficient way, and trying to leave the majority of the time for debate for the articles that people are most interested in this upcoming town meeting. Shaker Lane is the big ticket.
Yeah.
And then there's necessary town business on the warrant that we can handle in other ways to create more time for people to talk about the things that they really came to see.
So now that we know your role, let's talk about town meeting itself. Gracious.
Sure. Yep.
Throwing stuff all over the place here. We're going to be meeting on October 28th at 7 p.m. in the cafeteria.
Right.
And when folks arrive, what's the first thing that they need to do when they get to the gym?
Well, when they get to the gym, they'll be greeted by the town clerk and her tellers, who will check in all registered voters so that they can participate in the town meeting. It's a little different now. And instead of simply checking in, they'll also be giving you a handheld device. Since we've gone to electronic voting the last few town meetings.
The clicker.
The clicker, as everyone calls it. They're used to their remote controls at home, but it's similar to that, and it's not that complicated. We usually run a test vote or two to see that people's devices are up and running, but there's one button for yes and one button for no, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but we want to make sure people are comfortable with it. I think we've already seen that it's proved pretty efficient. Quite a time saver, and I think we're upcoming with the Shaker Lane vote, I think we're really going to see a big change here. Something like that, a big debt vote at town meeting, doing the ballot and checklist. You're talking an hour or more.
Oh yeah, I've been through one paper ballot, and that took a long time.
It really takes a long time. It puts a lot of burden on the town clerk and her staff, and with this new system, we're going to have the answer in 30 seconds.
Yeah. So
Instead
everyone
of an
clicks
hour,
in,
so-
and it shows up on the board, and
So
anonymously, of course, but we can see the votes, and it's all set.
Right. So to the extent that there are people coming that are interested in Shaker Lane and Shaker Lane only, maybe they've got school-age kids and they've never been to a town meeting and they want to get through this as quickly as possible, I think they'll be pleased that the voting is electronic.
Yes.
And it'll speed the process up, and they'll be able to get home to their sitters or whatever arrangements they've made. It's not going to be as burdensome as it might have been in previous years.
Yeah.
I think we've found that, and we've heard nothing but good comments, I think, favorable comments about the electronic voting. Is that right,
Yep.
Jim?
Absolutely, 100%.
And so this town meeting is a little unique in the logistical setup, we're going to have 2 rooms open for folks to attend. We're going to have the gym, which is where we usually all meet, and then we'll also have the cafeteria open as overflow and/or what we're designating as sort of a child-friendly area where parents can bring their kids with them if they'd like to, and there will be some quiet activities in the back of the cafeteria for the little ones to partake in. The Boy Scout Troop 1 is going to join and help keep the kids entertained back there. But there will
Very
be
good, yeah.
Yeah, so there will be there'll be a separate moderator in that room, and folks can participate, they can comment, they can vote, all from the cafeteria. That's right.
That's right. And again, it'll be a little easier than in the past where they had to count the vote by hand separately and then and transfer that to the main room to the town clerk. They'll be able to vote electronically, from the remote location, the cafeteria. And we've used it over the years. I can think of maybe 3 or 4 times other big school votes, or maybe the football field was a big
Alumni field.
was a big vote. Yeah. I mean, you can tell I'm a townie because I always call it the football field, and everyone else calls the alumni the athletic field. Because it serves many other purposes as well. But I think we've been able to do that before, and I credit. Mark and his staff at LCTV for making the communications happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of just cross my fingers and hope that it works, and it has over the years. So, and the ability to offer the child care is important, especially for a vote like this, where, the crowd will probably skew toward the younger side, younger parents with kids that maybe they can find a sitter, maybe they can't. And it's nice to have the option to bring them with you. And
Yep.
And if you think you're not going to be there all night, I think that's going to help people too.
Yeah, so there will be, in addition to that family-friendly cafeteria voting area, there's also going to be drop-off childcare for ages 3 and older, and that's free for anybody who wants it. Just keep an eye out on the town website for a link for RSVPing, so that we have an idea of how many
They can sign up in advance, is that right? Or,
Yep, they can sign up in advance, and that way we'll know how many kids to expect and what ages, and we can be ready. So
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're here, and we have sat down with our clickers in either the cafeteria or the gym, and we're all settled in. And what's the first order of business?
Well, normally I'd go with what we call the consent agenda, where we try to bundle all of the non-controversial articles and more routine articles to kind of get those out of the way, so we've got more time for the kind of the meat of town meeting.
And so is that totally up to you in terms of what can be rolled into a consent agenda?
It's a moderator's call, and looking at the warrant, we've got 14 articles. There are a handful that would be appropriate to handle in that way. What I've heard anecdotally is that people are in such a hurry to get the Shaker Lane that they'd rather not even go through that brief procedure. So I have, agreed that I will take up Article 1 first.
Okay.
We can do the consent agenda
After.
after the vote and after the sort of the mass exodus we anticipate will happen. But so we'll get right into Article 1.
Wonderful.
Because that's what people have come for, and there's no sense, frustrating them with procedure at that point. That's something, we will do it. We will do the consent agenda, and, some of the articles will fit, some won't. I mean, there's a resolution that won't be appropriate. There's a bylaw that's kind of long and cumbersome. And a citizen's petition. I have heard that may be withdrawn. I don't know what the situation is with that, but we can handle all of that stuff later. I anticipate a lot of people are coming for that first vote, and that's their right. I mean, they don't have to sit through all the mundane business just to cast that vote.
No, not if they don't want to, right?
Absolutely. So we'll in the interest of time, we'll get to that as soon as we can. I will say, I've talked to the school building committee. They're going to have a fairly lengthy presentation under Article 1, which is fine. I've agreed to allow them extra time because I think it's important for the town to hear it in its entirety.
This is a big issue.
Yeah, so I don't mind doing that. And likewise, debate is unlimited, but my hope is that we don't have 30 people lined up to say I'm in favor of the school, that maybe after 5 or 6 pro comments and whatever con there are, that maybe we can agree that it's appropriate to close the debate without hearing. We don't have to debate this for 2 hours, because I think a lot of people have their mind made up, quite honestly, and they're coming down to cast a vote one way or the other. And as comprehensive as the presentation may be, I don't think any minds are going to be changed. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, could be, right?
Could be.
I mean,
Could be, but I think people are going to, be in a mindset to vote.
yeah, I know we've all worked really hard to get out as much information about this one as we can.
Yeah,
but-
no, what I've seen is it's really very good information. It's more information, I think, than I've seen in the past on some pretty major articles. So,
Yeah.
no one should be able to walk away from there saying, I didn't understand what they were saying.
Yeah.
What the comparison was between a brand new school and kind of, I won't say piecemeal, but, kind of keeping up with maintenance and
Yeah.
doing it a different way. So,
Yeah, because I think one of the things that we've all experienced, anyone who's attended town meeting has experienced, is no matter how much you work to get, the information out there, there's going to be people that walk in and don't know anything about it, right? And so that's why the presentation
Yeah.
is important, so that they can.
I think it's very important, and Steve Venuti, who's a member of that building committee and chair of the finance committee, he'll be making that presentation, and he's certainly got a lot of credibility with town meeting. Over the years, he's weighed in on lots of financial matters, and he's built up that credibility, and it's well earned. And I think I don't want to cut Steve off midstream. I want him to be able to say what he's got to say, and hopefully that'll sink in, or people have an opportunity for questions. And the debate, it's not limited, as I say. It'll go as long as people want it to go. I mean, people can move the question at any point. I think I wouldn't take a motion to close debate before it had begun. I think it should go on for at least an appropriate length of time. It doesn't have to go on for,
What does move the question
Exactly.
mean?
Oh,
for
okay,
those
yeah,
people
no,
out
it's kind of
there?
yeah.
You read my mind, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. People often say they're going to move the question, and it's really it's a what they call a privilege motion. It's a motion to close debate. Usually, it comes up after the debate's gone on for an hour or so, and somebody says, I think I've heard enough. Like it means close debate now, and let's move to vote on the question. So you move the question up to be voted on.
And does that have to pass by a vote? That floor motion.
It's a 2/3 vote, and usually there's no trouble finding 2/3, because normally when people move it, a lot of people have heard enough by that point.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes people try to jump the gun and move it on early on in the debate. And it's not fair if you've got 20 people in line and
Sure.
you haven't heard from half of them or something. That it's not really fair to shut the door. And sometimes that motion will fail because people say, no, we want to hear a little bit more, but
Okay.
we don't have to hear, from everyone. But
Sure.
especially if there's redundancy. I mean, that's the kind of the key to the debate is you want to give people a chance to be heard. But if the comments get repetitive and redundant, and it's just a matter of me too, I'm in favor of this. You want to encourage, new information only, and we want to hear from some people who are against this question as well, for balance and like that. But by and large, these things kind of work themselves out. I mean, I sometimes find that the debate goes on for a bit, and then there's maybe nobody in line, or somebody will move the question. I said, well, we don't really have to, because there's nobody left to talk. It's debate is over as far as I'm concerned. But let's just go right to the vote then, because we don't need to formally end the debate.
And
But,
so once we get to that point, you open the vote, and
then
what
with,
happens?
with the new procedure? We started with a 30-second window to conduct the electronic vote. And I think we quickly realized how long a period of time 30 seconds can be, because literally it takes 10 or 15 seconds
yeah. I wish we had a clicker with us, but there's a yes button and a no button, and
Right.
so this is not a complicated process.
Right. incumbent on me to explain properly what the yes and the no mean, because we don't want to confuse that. And it kind of amazes me sometimes people, what does a yes mean? I mean, it means you're voting yes to borrow this money to build a school, or no, you're not. But people want to know what they're voting for, and we haven't had many problems. I mean, my fear was that we'd have people holding up their hands and saying, I don't think my clicker worked, or what have you. But we haven't really had that.
Yeah,
Haven't
very
had-
little.
I think people are just so thrilled that we're moving things along.
Yeah.
Where we would sometimes have a couple of debt votes on the same warrant, and that would be, if you're doing the checklist on those, that could take a long time.
A long time. So
One time, somebody moved to vote by ballot and checklist, and town meeting agreed, and I said, "Oh, you don't know what you just did," And I saw the person that actually moved for that vote get in line and vote, and then she walked out the door. It's like she went home. I said, "We're going to stay here for another hour till we get the result." But she knew what she was doing. I'll give her that much. But I think now with this new technology, it's efficient, and there's really the ballot and checklist. I don't think offers us any more accuracy than we get with the electronic vote, and it saves a lot of time. And
Yeah.
we could always do that, but we could always revote something if there was some kind of a malfunction. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
I mean, for years and years, it's been talked about going to electronic voting, and it was always, these new systems, they cost $80,000. And finally, it came down to about $20,000, and then the town said, okay, now, and enough communities had already, jumped in the water, and it was working
Yep.
well in a lot of places. So we went with that, and I give the clerk credit for that, for kind of being the champion of moving to electronic voting.
Yeah, so we even, we borrowed some extra clickers for this meeting,
Right.
anticipating increased attendance, so, and they're around. There's
That's,
lots of communities using this system, and so.
That's the Meridia system. A number of towns in the area adopted that, which is good for us because the equipment is compatible and
Yeah.
so forth.
Mutual aid.
And there's, in a sense, there's an agreement among the clerks in the area to share when necessary, and it's all in the scheduling of the town meetings.
Yeah.
It can be difficult sometimes because everybody kind of wants to get them in the spring or get them in the fall.
So let's go back to the how long the vote is open for. So in the past,
Okay.
at the very beginning, it was 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
And then we shortened it a little bit.
We found, we shortened it to 20. I
Yeah.
asked town meeting if they would mind that, and they said, no, go for that. Again, we can start with the 30, and I probably would leave it open that long, or maybe even longer for Shaker Lane, because you'd
Maybe.
want to make sure, we got one remote room that's voting. We want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to vote.
Just to be sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a 2/3 vote because the town is borrowing quite a sum of money, but any kind of an article that involves borrowing is a 2/3 vote by statute. And that's not the end of the ballgame, as they say. It has to both pass here at town meeting and then in the debt exclusion election, the ballot on the following Saturday.
Yep, November 1st.
And that's a majority, simple majority vote. But it's got to pass that two-stage test in order for it to be fully approved. So
Yep, and that's just like any other election.
exactly.
You can absentee vote, you can early vote, you can,
Right.
otherwise you walk in and check your ballot off and walk out, just like any other election day.
Exactly. Exactly.
But town meeting is the one where you have to be present. We're all sitting here looking at our town meeting reports.
Right.
And I neglected to point out that that's part of the process when you get in, right? If you didn't bring your town meeting report that you got in the mail, there's plenty
There's
extras
usually
there.
Plenty there. Yeah, they went out in the mail. I got mine today, but I think it's something that it's probably been around about 10 years now, but there's an awful lot of good information, especially the report of the Finance Committee and so forth, and an explanation of the warrant articles in plain English, as we say.
Yep.
because it can kind of be a sort of a mysterious
Yeah.
language to some people, emotions and articles, and, an
Yep.
article is not a motion. It's almost like Jeopardy. You got to put it in the form of a motion for it to count, and you got to put it in the form of a question. You've got to move a certain thing, and to the uninitiated, I'm sure it's difficult to understand. I mean, a lot of us have been around this for a long time, right, Jim? And it's
yeah, no, without a doubt.
and you take it for granted, yeah.
You had mentioned, Tim, that with people, you have 20 people in line with the debate and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a time limit that everyone can go up and make comments or anything like that?
I should have mentioned that. Yeah, there is this arbitrarily. It's a 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to make your comments.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, we started with like 4 or 5 a while ago, and they said that's kind of long to give everybody that amount of time, and it's down to 3 now, and that's probably more than enough for most people.
Sure.
Some of your professionals have it down to the
Sure.
It's like they're watching the shot clock, and they can time their comments to
Yep.
3 minutes.
A second, yeah.
2 minutes might be in our future, but
Okay.
yeah. So that's the limit. If we hear from 5 or 6 people, and the next person up in line says, "I move the question," well, we've
Yep.
got to take that vote. And if it gets a 2/3 majority, then that will be the end of the debate.
Yep.
But people it could go either way. I think.
Okay.
So
You know-
it's unlimited, an unlimited number of people. Anybody can get up to talk if they want to talk.
Yeah,
They each get 3 minutes,
they each get 3 minutes.
but then they're not allowed to keep circulating
Right,
up to the mic, right?
Yeah. Generally, the rule of thumb is one comment per article,
Mm-hmm.
unless you have new information to offer, which
Mm-hmm.
is almost never the case. And I've been burned by asking someone, is this new information? Oh, yes, it is. And they get up and they just kind of, reiterate something. I said, that's not new information. You just
Yeah. Yeah.
you cheated on that one. But
What about non-residents that will attend? Are they allowed to make comments, ask questions, or anything?
a non-resident can address town meeting with the permission of the moderator.
Okay.
And I always ask the body town meeting, do you want to hear from this person? And
Yeah.
if the majority do, then
Sure.
That's sort of different from the beginning of the meeting. We'll sometimes have a ground rule that town employees who don't live in or consultants to the town are kind of by definition allowed to speak.
Yep.
It's not like sometimes somebody will not be a resident, but they own property in town and they want to speak to a zoning question.
Yep.
And there's really no reason to. I mean, town meeting could say we don't want to hear from this person, but normally they do.
Okay.
They give people the benefit of the doubt.
And the
Okay.
typical scenario for that, like you said, is somebody that the town is like an expert that the town has hired to work on a particular issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, makes sense. Makes sense.
So I'm trying to think of anything that we've left off. So we voted. We know the result fairly quickly, and then folks hopefully will stay. But if they need to go, they can go
If they need to go, they can go. We'll
at any time during the meeting, right? I mean,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, we'll
There's
maybe we'll
generally
take a
somebody up and
a
moving
little
at
break
any
and
given
let
time.
the mass exodus occur. But if that's what's going to be, but I mean, people at any time they should feel free to get up and get a drink of water and
Yeah.
So I know that maybe people out there may know that in some communities there is a minimum amount of people that are required to be
Quorum.
added to. Thank you.
Sure.
At a town meeting. Does Littleton have that?
Littleton does not. We've never had a quorum requirement.
Okay.
So technically, you don't even need the select board there. I mean,
Okay.
at a minimum, you need a moderator and a town clerk, and presumably a voter or two
Yeah.
to conduct the town meeting. But we don't have that quorum requirement. A lot of communities, it's 100, 150, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
And I think sometimes, when they fall below that quorum, they end up kind of getting hamstrung. They can't finish the town meeting because
Correct.
unless if someone questions the
Right.
existence of a quorum. And, the alternative is the zero quorum, which means that, business will get done whether you're there or not. So
Yep.
it's incumbent upon you to be there if you care.
Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, you can't complain if,
Right.
and sometimes things get passed at the end of the night, and you've got to do your work to be a good citizen. I think to make sure,
Yeah.
not that anything nefarious is afoot, but
Yeah.
if you want to see how it all comes out, then you should plan on being there.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
So I think that kind of covers all the logistics. I know there's lots of folks who have been to lots of town meetings, but there's a fair number of folks that haven't, and so I really appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in so
no,
we could talk about it.
I appreciate the opportunity too, and those of us who've been around it a long time take so much of it for granted, and the acronyms and the shorthand, and sometimes you don't realize that some people haven't heard that before. They want a little explanation
Yeah.
Right.
on things.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for coming. After
Sure.
this, the two of you are going to record a session that's particular to this town meeting and the topics, correct?
That's our award-winning town meeting preview. That
How many Emmys do you have now?
I don't know. That was
One for each election at a
At
minimum,
a,
right?
at a minimum, correct.
yeah. It's highly rare. Well, it's sweeps week, right? So it's
Yeah.
a good time to be doing it. So.
So for folks that want to hear more about each article, keep an eye on LCTV, and that'll be available to watch or listen to as well. Thanks so much
Very
for coming
good.
today.
Glad to do it.
Thank you.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. And that's all for today, Littleton. We'll be back in a week or two.